Hey Angel, how are you? Knock knock. Good morning. How's your day going so far? Mine was a busy morning. I feel like every morning is busy these days, but hey Aaron, good morning. I feel like there's always a lot of news. Hey Cassie, good morning. How are you doing? I always find it hard to decide what I'm gonna put above my head because there's so much news going on like every day nowadays. Mm. How's everybody's day going so far? Nope. Sorry, skunk. Not. But good try. Nope. Democrats do not own the House, the Senate, or the presidency. It is not their responsibility to negotiate. It is the rights, and they haven't. They said, this is it, vote for it, or there will be a shutdown. That's all they did. If they if the Republicans need Democrat votes, then it's their job to negotiate to get those votes. And they've done no negotiation. Hey Brianna. Kid's birthday, so it's been crazy with no end in sight. There you go. Feel on edge today. You know, I can understand that feeling. Hey Courtney. Can definitely understand that feeling. Starting out as a quiet morning. Correct. It's a Republican shutdown. That is correct. Yeah. I mean, arguably we all said this, Jay. None of this is surprising. We all knew this kind of stuff was going to happen. I said it more times than I can count. up into the election and after. I'm going for a second annual wellness visit this year. Eesh. I mean, are we surprised? What can we do about what? Which part? I don't know why I whistled like that. Which part are you asking? What can we do about what? Trump? Um, I mean, the best thing that we can do short term is um, go to music festivals when you can, contact your representatives, make it well known that if they follow all that stuff, they're not going to be voted back into office. And then vote. Find community. Good morning, Brianna. On the tube side. Vote in primaries. Hey, Lori. Hey, Kayla. Hey, Anna. Guys, a new episode just released this morning. Mm-hmm. And there's some cool stuff going on. At least one person is kind of joining the team and is going to be putting out some more episodes during the week. So there will be we're working on timing and getting it all set up, but there's going to be more stuff coming out on the tube and on all platforms having to, just from this this community coalition. So yeah, if you watched the episode with Raisha, she's joining up. Good morning. Hey, Clara. Hey, Patty. And there's at least one other person that might be joining and helping as well. So there's a lot of cool things happening. You just feel outnumbered. You know, if it's mostly online that you're feeling that, that makes sense. Algorithms can tend to do that. It is awesome. It is awesome, Angel. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, Patty. I think there are more people that feel like we do than we see. But unfortunately, I understand that feeling though. 100% understand that feeling. Uh-huh. Sure there are. That's why he only won by 1.5% in the general election. Because there's a 2-to-1. Okay. Nuh-uh. Because everyone voted. Not enough to make it. Not enough people didn't vote to make it 2-to-1. And you're assuming that everyone that didn't vote is conservative. Hey, Jeremiah. Hey, Tabitha. Two to one. Yeah, in order to be 2 to 1, that would mean that about 30% of the 40% of the country didn't vote in the general election. That would mean 75% of the people that didn't vote you think are conservative. Not likely. And that's not even counting the people that voted third party. No. No, they don't. Green Party is not conservative. Dems didn't win a swing state. What does that have to do with anything? Libertarians lean conservative. Okay. Yep, that is a third party that leans conservative. Never said there wasn't one that leaned conservative. Doesn't change the fact that he won by 1.5%. Why? What does Hillary have to do with anything? Hillary's not in office, dude. Bill Clinton's not in office either. Anyone that's in the files should be put in prison. I don't care who you are. Bottom line, he won. That's not a bottom line, but at least not in the conversation we're having. Why is Hillary not advocating? I don't know. You'll have to ask Hillary. Good morning, Kia. You're right. Hostages may come home. Ceasefire could happen. That's true. I'm very happy to hear that. Frustration can be IRL. The people that don't want to understand what's going on. Yep, that's true. That's a problem. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. Conservatives are the vast majority and the whole world is following. No, conservatives are not the vast majority, and no, the whole world is not following. Are there conservatives in other countries? Sure. Are things happening where conservatives are gaining power? Sure. That doesn't make them the vast majority. In no way are they the vast majority. But that's fine. You're allowed to believe it, and I'm sure your algorithm tells you that a lot. Uh-huh. Okay, Christopher. It's all over the news. Oh, okay. The news. Yeah, what news? Newsmax? Fox News? Again, not saying in any way, shape, or form that there are not conservatives. Australia, England, and all of Europe, all of Russia, India as well. There are conservatives in all of those countries. Sure. But nowhere is it shown that a vast majority. But sure, there are conservatives in every country. But not a vast majority. They are gaining power in leaps and bounds. Okay. Okay. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I disagree. They gaining power in some places, they aren't in other. It is what it is. Good morning. For any of you that are over here, conservatives aren't the loudest, and that's why you will continue to deny they are the majority. That sentence makes absolutely no sense, keyboard warrior. That is that literally makes no sense. Us saying that they're the loudest, conservatives are the silent majority? Uh-huh. Okay. Sure. How can you call it a GOP shutdown when they tried to vote? They didn't get enough votes to pass the CR. It is their job to get enough votes to pass the CR as the majority. That's how. Bill Maher? Okay, Bill Maher is not my Bill Maher. This is why millions of Democrats voted Republican. Sure they did. Sure they did. Abolish the filibuster? They don't want to abolish the filibuster. You wouldn't want the filibuster abolished. That would cause some serious issues. The filibuster is what keeps things less crazy. Hey, Sibirio. Hey, Jill. Hey, Alyssa. Had since March to work with the Dems to pass an actual balanced budget, and yet here we are. Yep. And yet Dems wanted to get rid of it. I'm sure there were some Democrats that wanted to get rid of it, just like there are some Republicans that want to get rid of it. But there is a reason that it's not going to get gotten rid of, because it would not be in the best interest for that to exist. Hell, I think the filibuster is probably one of the few things that you could get potential support for making like a law, not just a like being in the Constitution, not just a like a house rule. Mike Johnson will not swear in the new Arizona rep. Yep. Blaming the shutdown. Nope, shutdown is not on the Dems, but you know, nice try. No, 100% isn't. They are not in the majority. The majority's job is to get the votes to pass things. It's the majority's job. The majority did not negotiate. The majority needed 8 votes in order to pass the filibuster. They did not get it. They didn't even try. So it's on the GOP. Why? What reason do the Democrats have to vote for a bill that they don't like? I do realize you're fully capable of researching, but obviously you're not very good at it. Sorry. If you don't realize that the majority's job is to negotiate, if you think the votes are the only thing that do it, then you aren't aware of how this works. Yeah, well, steamroller premiums and deductibles are going to go up even higher if we get rid of this stuff with Obamacare. So I'm not sure what you think is going to happen. Yes, they will. They already are. They're already getting their new it's literally been, people have been talking about it. They have gotten their new plans that have shown that their premiums have doubled. Like, I'm not making it up. People have shown the information they've gotten for their new premiums. Hell, the insurance companies announced that premiums were going to go up. Like, they're telling you. Yep. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene has talked about premiums doubling. Yep. And you know something's really bad if Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to be on your side. What's up, buddy?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, closet leftist. You know, I'm thinking that we might get struck with lightning. This is 2 times in 2 weeks that we agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene.
More
Wow.
like she knows she's toast if this stays.
Yeah. We'll take a look at her district.
I mean,
I bet she's not happy with the Medicaid cuts that are going to kick in 2026.
Well, I was actually seeing something already saying that even though the Medicaid cuts are not kicking in until 2026, hospitals and stuff are already starting to be affected like are already making cuts based on what's going to happen.
Well, in the run up to the big, beautiful bill, that is precisely what Senator Cassidy tried to tell his caucus. He said, "You think you're being shrewd by pushing these cuts off until after the midterms." He said, I'm a doctor. He said, hospitals plan 2 years ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And failing rural hospitals are going to start closing now, knowing that their gravy train, the Medicaid money, is going to run out. They have to plan ahead. So you've already seen rural hospitals shut down, and you're going to see a lot more in the run up to the midterms. They're not going to wait until December of 2026.
Yeah. By the way, everyone, new episode came out today. Really good. Check it out. Also, if you like what's going on here, I'm live here and on the tube, trying to grow the tube because who knows what's going to happen with this app in the future. So, and you don't have to worry about getting comments filtered over there, which is also nice. Yeah, VR. It's a GOP shutdown because they are in the majority, and it is when the majority does no negotiation, it is their fault.
Look, the rules call for 60 votes in the Senate. That makes it incumbent upon the majority party to negotiate with the minority party. That's the way things have worked since 1789. There's nothing unusual about that. If you need 60 votes and you only have 53, you've got to get 7 Democratic votes, which means you have to negotiate.
I swear, Chosen One's job is to see how fast he can get muted every single stream he comes on. Apparently the art of the deal is to cry and blame others' side. Yeah. Yeah. High theory.
Julio, we're talking about Medicaid and hospitals. We're not talking about Gaza. Okay? Stick to the subject.
We great yet? Were we ever? Nah. Okay. Well then go get your subject somewhere else. I'm not. Like, I don't care who you support. If you're left or right, I don't really give a shit. Okay? Like, don't be an ass. And if you were trying, yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, and when Obamacare was threatened in 2018, we saw what happened in the midterms. The Democrats picked up 41 seats, and that was after the Republican plan failed. Imagine what happens now when 27 million people on the ACA are in for the shock of their lives come November 1st when the bills arrive for 2026 insurance. That's not going to sit well, especially when it comes to who gets the subsidies by more than 2-to-1 red states. 2-to-1. Source Congressional Budget Office.
Root, we had this talk yesterday, and again, I'll say it today. It may have been a joke towards Republicans. We may have misunderstood it. That doesn't mean you need to be rude. And if you are talking, people need to be better about being clear about what they're saying in text, because we can't read people's minds, and we deal with a bunch of junk here. So,
well, I was about to answer Timothy, but he got bounced.
Oh yeah,
with his silly Roe v. Wade. By the way, where that's not even the subject of discussion today. And you're wrong on the facts if you're still listening, Timothy.
Ooh, Philip got to meet Tallarico. That must have been cool.
So someone in the chat, Six Kings, says it's not the taxpayer's job to fund healthcare.
We already
Right.
do.
I know. I'm like, I don't think you understand
How
that
healthcare works?
I don't think you understand how taxes work.
Well, that
I don't think
too.
you understand what civil responsibility is like. I don't think you understand what government is, if that's the comment that you're coming in hot with.
I don't think you realize how your premiums work. Your premiums fund healthcare for people without healthcare. That is part of what your premiums fund.
If we want to get into what taxpayers should and should not pay for, we shouldn't be paying for a military that's already bloated. We don't get to decide where our taxes go outside of voting for people who enact the policies and processes that we want. It is our job to pay for healthcare.
Hey, Autumn. Autumn's over on the tube. Healthcare C. See, the healthcare CEO bonuses come from the investment that they do with our premiums, not really with the premium money. But actually, premiums fund bloated private administrators. They fund everything. That, again, our premiums go into paying for everything. They pay for people that don't have insurance. Because what happens is when people that don't have insurance go get help in hospitals, because emergency rooms won't spend the time to find out if you have health insurance before they save your life. If they can't pay, they will start charging insurance companies more the next time they negotiate, and those insurance companies will charge higher premiums. That is what we pay for. And that's the part that that's the part that a lot of people seem to forget, is that premiums are a pool. Your premiums cover people's healthcare all the time. Your premiums don't cover your own healthcare most of the time. Other people's premiums help your healthcare. Cover your healthcare when you need more. 41,000 pages have been released. And that's not everything. That's not everything.
Even if 41,000 pages were released, then why are they trying to block a vote on it so bad? If there's nothing else to be released, why is everyone freaking out about trying to block a vote?
Autumn, we're doing great. We're doing great. Did you read the 40? What does that have to do with anything? What is whether I read it not or not have to do with anything? There are more. They should all get released. You gotta ask Congress that question? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Six Kings is in here telling me about the Constitution is about personal freedoms and personal responsibility. No, it's actually about our responsibility to govern.
Yeah.
It's actually about our responsibility to establishing a working form of government, number one. Number two, he's saying that there was no healthcare in the Constitution, that we can't fund healthcare, but we can fund defense. Guess what? They would take their babies out to the wilderness to let them pass because there was no healthcare. I don't understand why people think that the Constitution somehow dictates how we live life today, and then think that they can go out and buy an AR-15, and it's totally fine, covered by the Constitution. And if you have a problem with subsidies, you should be taking it out on farmers, because they're the beneficiaries of all of, like, the most government subsidies over time.
Look, the Constitution is our governing document. It covers a lot of things. Mostly the amendments cover personal liberties and things like that. The the base of the Constitution, the articles, cover the setting up of our governing system. And then there's federalism. There's a lot of things involved. It's not just about personal rights and responsibilities. Emphasis on the word responsibilities. And people might want to ask one basic question: is the Congress of the United States living up to its responsibilities under Article 1 of the Constitution?
Can you explain more what would happen if the Insurrection Act was enacted? The National Guard, at minimum, would be given authority to do more than what they right now are given authority to do based on posse comitatus. So they would, right now, they are only allowed to be logistical support and defend. If the Insurrection Act was enacted, they would be able to do more.
Yeah, Nellie, the current, Nellie asked a question in chat. The current subject of debate is the subsidies, not the efficacy of the Affordable Care Act itself.
Okay, bye, Theory. And yeah, and again, we want to make this clear. By federal law, no undocumented immigrant can get Medicaid, Medicare, or Affordable Care Act. None. That is federal law. If you do not have documents to be in this country, you cannot get them.
And Nellie, to follow up again on your very good question, there are real issues coming around the bend with the Medicaid cuts that will indeed go to the very eligibility of people to get Medicaid. And that is going to come approximately 4 weeks after the 2026 midterms. So again, folks, you want to ask yourself one basic question. If the Republicans truly believe that the Big Beautiful Bill was a big, beautiful bill and a wonderful piece of legislation, why are they delaying the effects of it until after the midterms? And once you answer that question, you will know just what is coming.
And you're right, Jake. Everyone can get treated in an emergency room for free. That's called EMTALA. That's because in an emergency, you shouldn't be spending time finding out if you have papers, if you are insured at all. They just care for you. Doesn't matter who you are. That's the same reason EMTALA is basically the due process in an emergency. Yeah, in an emergency, which is what you do in an emergency room. Do you think that undocumented immigrants go to an emergency room to get a checkup?
Especially with ICE incidents?
Well, no, they don't, Jake. That's not how it works. I don't know why you think that, because it's not true. Emergency room would not take them for a checkup.
Hey.
If you walked into an emergency room and said, I want a checkup, they would say, well, you need to go to a doctor. You've never worked in an ER. Oh my gosh.
I say things that never happened for 1,000, Alex. And even then, okay, let's work under the premise that what Jake's saying is true, and there are people who are going to emergency for a checkup. Then does that not explain to the citizens of America that there's obviously an issue if people are unable to get medical care, so much so that they have to go to an emergency room for things that aren't emergencies. Like, emergency rooms are supposed to be for emergencies. Like, and I just,
Correct.
every time
They
every
go
time
they go to an emergency room.
for an emergency.
An emergency room would send you somewhere else.
Yep.
They would not do anything if it was not an emergency.
Even in Canada, where we have a one-payer universal tax-funded healthcare system, if you go to the emergency room and what you have is not an emergency, oh boy, will you sit there until like forever. To the point, basically, because you will keep getting bumped down the list with emergencies that actually come in, because that's how it works. When they triage people, it goes based on it goes based on a triage. Those who need the most important urgent care get to the top of the list, and they keep adding to that top of the list, and the people at the bottom who aren't emergency issues keep getting pushed down the list. Like, there's no point to going to an emergency room unless it is an emergency. You will likely never get seen, even in a tax-funded system. Like,
And again,
it's just,
does that mean that people do not try and go to an emergency room for non-emergency things? Of course they do.
of course,
People will do that until forever.
people are people. People are people,
But
and
that does not mean that they are going in for that kind of care on a regular basis. And they're getting that kind of care. They're not getting the basic, like what you would go to a doctor for in an emergency room. I don't have time for that. Especially now.
I'm not even sure if they ever really had time for that. Like, I don't think that was ever a thing. And you know what? Even if that is the case, why are you so mad about the one in, I'm going to say it's 100,000 or 1,000,000 people who come in for that type of treatment? Why is that the one person you're focusing on rather than everybody else?
And user with a bunch of digits next to your name, you're quite right. We do have clinics, we do have urgent care centers in this country, and they are shutting down in droves because of the Medicaid cuts. Clinics depend disproportionately on getting Medicaid money. And without that, we will not only see rural hospitals shut down, we will also see urgent care centers shut down. That's coming. That's not debatable. That is, and then my words are coming directly from their own trade association, which says that over 50% of rural hospitals are in financial difficulty already. That's coming. And that's based upon what their trade association has already said.
Hi, Theory. Welcome back.
Hi. I think one of the reasons that I keep hopping up and down on all your lives is that I am getting increasingly frustrated by like us not addressing the giant elephant in the room, which is that these people would rather human beings unalive and pass than consider that they might need emergency care, right? Or that consider that they might need protections. The dehumanization of these people is so far in, like, they've gone so far into thinking that they're not human enough to have decency.
Yep. No, I 100% agree. And you're right. I probably don't mention enough, and probably part of the reason I don't mention enough is I've mentioned it more times than I can count. And
Oh, you and I chat about this, but
Yes.
like what I mean is like we do a good job of maintaining a really even keel. Like that's what these panels are about, is really talking things out rationally and logically. But there's this emotional driver for these people where they're just wanting to enact violence against people they don't consider human beings. And it's so sick. That's why I'm like, you guys don't even, if you can't understand that immigrants are people, we can't have a conversation.
And if
Not you personally.
And if you can't accept that their document status does not change them being people. Like, again, you want to have a conversation about making a better pathway to citizenship, making a better situation for immigrants that want to come in. Hey, Matt, we can have that conversation. That's not part of the conversation right here. Part of the conversation here is you are coming in and saying that these human beings are worth less than some of your tax money. The lives of these human beings are worth less than your tax money.
And if they cared about them coming here illegally, they should take it out on the people who have help signs that hire undocumented labor because they have to pay them less. They pay them less. There's no protections for undocumented workers.
Mm-hmm.
And there are businesses whose entire viability as a firm is to rely on undocumented, cheap, unprotected labor. So if you want to get mad about why immigrants are coming across the border, you should talk to the people who are buying them. Those are the people who are bringing people across the border. They need that labor. They make sure that they can get that labor. Those are the people you should be mad at. Well, who do those people look like? Construction firms, landscaping firms, farms. Go after the people that hire them if you don't want immigrants coming into this country. And then we'll see how quickly you realize that these people are needed for this country to survive.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Good morning. Theory, I'm over here like, my dog was looking at me because I'm over here like, yes, Theory, yes.
No, the second trimester made me real mad.
Oh.
Wait till
Pissed.
I love that.
Oh.
You're right. And that's the part, it's really disgusting to see these arguments because I'm like, do you say these things out loud to yourself after you type them or before you type them to think like maybe me arguing against human beings, like you said, being able to be seen? I was listening to a live yesterday and like somebody had a good point. They're like, so you got these construction workers and stuff and they're out there. What happens if they fall off a ladder and they break an arm? What are they supposed to do? They hurt their leg, they hurt their back, any of these other things. They work in these factories that people hire them at when they're not supposed to. They get their arms stuck in meat machines and stuff like that. And I don't think people think about, they scream about them not being here, but at the same point in time, they don't want to have, they're not able, willing, or wanting to step up and step into the parts where they play in our community. And I think it's just really freaking gross.
When's the last time Pete Tricky went to the emergency room? They have you sign a bunch of paperwork so that they can post bill you if they can't figure out your insurance information before they have to admit you in an emergency situation. If not, they designate someone who's with you or the EMTs that brought you in to fill out that paperwork. What you were saying about if you got hurt in Mexico, they would negotiate your billing before you got emergent care is a lie, number one. Number two, the reason that there is less concern about payment in places like Mexico is because their healthcare is cheaper. They have a system where services cost less. In America, to get treated for a broken arm without insurance, you could risk lifelong debt.
So again, a dislocated shoulder is not emergency. It's care. I'm sure you went to an emergency room, but that's not emergency in the same respect that we're talking
Having
about.
a dislocated shoulder is not bleeding out from an artery, is not having a stroke, is not having a heart attack. You dislocated your shoulder enough, you were cognizant, you were aware enough to have a conversation about your billing, and that happens to everyone. I went to the emergency room because I could not stop throwing up. And in between my heaves, I had to discuss billing because I wasn't necessarily an emergency yet.
And again, this still comes back to the overarching thing. Why are you comparing us to Mexico? We aren't Mexico.
It's interesting that they didn't choose Canada, which says a lot of things.
It's
And
not
guess what?
interesting. Their problem is the immigrants.
It's just, I knew that. I knew that. But even here in Canada, if you're not a Canadian citizen, they're going to have that same discussion with you here. That doesn't mean that they're going to let you just like lay in the emergency room and not do anything. Like, come on now. Like, it's called humanity. And on top of it, nurses and doctors, they take oaths. Like I can't imagine having to sit there with your hands tied because of insurance. Like, and on top of it, there isn't profiteering going on in Mexico in the healthcare industry. I hate to say it. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. The U.S. like medical services it's all about profiteering off people. Like, you can tell that based on the billing. It is so expensive to get insurance to travel from Canada to the U.S. And even then, they are very explicit when you buy travel insurance to the U.S. exactly what your insurance encompasses and what's not covered and all sorts of stuff. And like, it's getting to the point now where it's, even as a Canadian citizen, even if you did have travel insurance, it's not worth even going because the number of times even our insurance companies refuse to pay out for services that we all thought should be covered. And I'm like, to me, that's dangerous. You can't plan for an emergency accident. You can't plan if you like trip off the curb and like break your ankle. You can't plan if you like, I don't know, we were in Hawaii once. My husband and I were swimming in the sea and he got sand in his ear and got an ear infection. You know, stuff happens. Nobody plans for this stuff. We don't purposely go and do these things. Like, and like, I genuinely don't understand the lack of humanity and care for your fellow human being. You would rather than pay into a system so that everybody can get care by a doctor and a nurse. You'd rather just let people unalive and be tortured for the rest of their existence than everybody pay into the system so everybody has access to it. It just, my brain cannot ever wrap around this. Like, I've tried.
I also think there's something important in what P. Tricky is trying to do. They're gish galloping outside of the claim that the GOP is making that we want health care that Democrats want health care for undocumented and illegal immigrants, which is illegal, number one. Number two, health care is not emergency room care. Health care is access to preventative relationship health care with a provider. That is dentistry, optometry, going to the doctor for your annual stress test, all that stuff. That is what healthcare is. What emergency room care is emergency room care. To consider that you are boiling it down to immigrants should not get emergency room care, what you are saying, P. Tricky, is that you believe these people deserve to pass away in front of an emergency room, then receive care.
P. Tricky, you brought up a statement, well, maybe it's because we're paying for the health care of all the other countries. That's simply divergent from the facts. The United States, as a matter of fact, gives less in foreign aid as a percentage of GDP than any industrialized country in the world. So I don't know where you're coming up from that, where you're coming with that. You'd better check your facts out because that's simply not the case.
Not to mention, it doesn't matter. These are human beings. The amount that we spend on people that are undocumented in emergency rooms is tiny, minuscule, so minuscule in comparison to how much we spend on healthcare for everybody else, that the fact that we're even having this dumbass argument and people are like, oh, we shouldn't pay for this crap. Like, grow up.
Someone in the chat is saying that that US citizens don't get the benefits of other countries' healthcare when we go abroad. Yeah, we absolutely do. When I was in France, I had a terrible toothache. It was so bad I thought I was going to pass out. Went to the doctor. The doctor was like, hey, you need a root canal immediately. And they discussed billing with me right off the bat, $30. As a French citizen as a visitor to that country. I paid $30 for a root canal that my husband, who had a root canal in the United States, paid $3,800 for.
Well,
Yep.
Theory,
Insurance.
you
With
should have called
insurance.
me. You should have called me, Theory. I would have knocked him down to $20.
I'm scared, but I'll come to you next time if I'm not in France.
Well, and you know what, like you brought up a point that like I even make about Canadian healthcare, as awesome as it is, and Canadians in the chat, please do not think I'm not grateful for the healthcare system we have. I'm absolutely but when I look at our European counterparts, they have a way better system. They have more services included in their system. Here to go to a dentist, you need to have insurance. Here to go to an eye doctor, you need to have insurance. Like the things covered are like literally medical doctors, specialists, your GP, your emergency care. But even then, your crutches aren't covered. You have to pay for those. If you need a wheelchair, you have to go buy it. If you need a walker, you have to go buy it. So like there are still problems in Canada with our services that need to be expanded. But France, in my mind, has one of the best medical systems.
Well, and here's the thing that we also need to understand, and we do need to accept. Every country has issues. Like none of their systems are perfect. France is going through a whole different problem. They've got great healthcare, obviously, at least the whole setup, but they're going through a lot of issues. They can't keep a prime minister for longer than like a week at this point because there are decisions that need to get made and they don't want to do it. So there are lots of problems going on. There are problems going on in every country. No decision, no choice is going to ever be perfect. But to sit here and just say, because it costs tax dollars, because there are other issues, that we should lose our humanity when there are people here that need help is ridiculous.
And Mike, you raised a point a few minutes ago that I think is worth. I mean, if you're going to look at it in dollars and cents wise, the amount of money out of the entire healthcare pie that is spent treating people in emergency rooms who are undocumented is minuscule. It's a rounding error. It's absolutely nothing compared to what we spend as a nation on healthcare. So please take that straw horse of yours and stop bringing it up, people.
Kia, you're unmuted.
Please stop bringing up those silly arguments because they're really not intelligent, and you're not bringing up the big costs in healthcare. Okay, it's just too small to even worry about. And by the way, it's the right thing to do.
They should be helped for emergencies, then sent back. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm sorry I had to use caps for that. I apologize.
The person saying they should be helped and then sent back to their country, you know who would be really pissed about that? The people who rely on their labor. The American businesses and firms and entire industries that rely on undocumented labor would be really pissed if any time a person, an undocumented migrant, went to the emergency room, received care, and then was shipped abroad.
Well, and I'm going to even go one further. Unless you're indigenous, guess what?
No, that doesn't mean anything. No, that doesn't mean anything. I understand what you're saying, and I hear you. That's
and to prove
corporations. Wait a minute. You think corporations rely on undocumented migrant labor? Do you know how many interviews a corporate worker has to go through on the regular to enter the corporate workforce? They do not rely on undocumented migrant labor. You know who does? Farms, food,
meatpacking plants,
meatpacking, construction, steel, oil refineries. All of the businesses that keep America running and competitive globally rely on undocumented immigrant labor because it is cheap and they are not protected. They cannot sue if anything happens to them.
Eric, no, we did not say that we approve of slavery. We said that we've got a system that requires it. to be the way it is right now. You want to start making it, you want to start paying people enough that they have a living wage, then things would probably change. But as long as we're living in a system that we are currently in, the only way the people at the bottom can survive is having these ways of keeping the costs down.
P. Tricky, you do not get to turn my words around. What I'm saying is when you make these arguments, these are the people you should be arguing with. Now, I'm not saying that I support this.
No.
I'm not at all saying that I support that corporations or that farms or that all of these industries rely on undocumented migrant labor. What I'm getting you to realize is that is the argument that you're making. You are suggesting that you would rather decimate entire American industry that relies on undocumented migrant labor than you would provide emergency care to these people. That says a lot about you. That's anti-patriotic.
Pay citizens a living. No, we can't pay citizens a living wage because our friggin' minimum wage isn't even a living wage. Like, you think paying citizens $7.50 an hour or whatever it is, $7.25 an hour would fix the problem? You think even paying $15 an hour would fix the problem? $15 an hour is $30,000 a year.
To answer your question, person from Britain, that is a very good question. I understand what you're saying. But in the United States, in order to pass the budget, you need 60 votes in the Senate. There are only 53 Republicans. Therefore, it is incumbent upon the majority party to engage in negotiations with the minority party to pass a budget. It's been that way since 1787. And that is why the budget wasn't passed. They refused to negotiate in any way whatsoever with the Democrats on getting the budget passed. But that's a good question. I understand you're from Britain, and you may not have known that.
Brian, my argument is that we as a country have really not ever dealt with slavery and with subjugated, unregulated labor in a constructive enough way that we've built industry apart from it. It's not like slavery ended and we stopped looking for cheap labor here and found ways to make people, American citizens most of the time, work for less than they deserve. The reason we have a prison industrial complex is because America relies on the cheap $1 an hour labor of enslaved people, of incarcerated people. We have not built systems and firms and structures outside of gaming the system in some way with either undocumented immigrant labor or incarcerated labor. Until we do those things, that's the reality of this country. I'm not saying I'm for this. I'm saying that this is what is happening.
Uncooperative. The president being ready to sign the bill does not mean a dang thing. If the majority needs 8 Democrat senators to pass something through the Senate, it is their responsibility to negotiate and get it through. That is what being in the majority means. And when you basically say, we're not going to negotiate at all, we're just going to threaten to use a government shutdown to get our way, that's on them. That's how a negotiation works. If you've never done a negotiation, then maybe I can understand you not understanding, but that's how a negotiation works. When you need something from somebody else, you go to them and say, what is it going to take to get you to sign this?
And Mike, it should also be noted that at any time they want to, the Republicans can pass this bill all by themselves without using any Democratic votes at all. All that would necessitate would be the elimination of the filibuster. And good luck with that. if that's the road they want to go down, if that's the hill they want to die on, good luck with that.
It is not a clean
'Cause it goes
CR.
both ways.
It is not a clean CR. The big beautiful bill changed the budget. They've removed funds from places like USAID and PBS and many other places. It's not clean. It has changed. Clean would mean that PBS would still be funded, that all of the things that were there when the first CR was passed in March are still there, and that is not the way it is.
That's correct. After the first CR in March, you had HR 1, otherwise known as the Big Beautiful Bill, and that changed the playing field, folks. It's two different operating systems we're working under now.
Obama's not the president. Obama's not the president. I'm perfectly willing to blame Democrats for a shutdown when the Democrats do something that deserves being blamed for. But they didn't, no one talked to them. There was no negotiation.
You can tell the trolls are out now.
Yeah, I think I said enough keywords to make sure we showed up on their
Yeah,
article.
positively, thank you for the thought, but you don't need to say the same thing 4 or 5 times in a row. Please stop spamming. Thank you.
Best shutdown. You know, and no one does shutdowns like this administration, that's for sure. Literally.
Well, they're bigly. Like
They're
he does
bigly.
yep, they're bigly, and they're the biggest, bestest shutdowns
They're
ever
the
in history.
biggest, bestest, not going to pay workers shutdown ever. They've gone back and
Just
said
no
that they
answers
might
on
not
what
pay.
Democrats want. Again, they've said what they want. So they put forth their own bill with everything they want. Because again, this is how negotiations work. Republicans put what they want. The Democrats put everything they wanted. And obviously, the Republicans aren't going to do that. So then the Republicans go in, okay, what's the least that we can do in order to get this signed? ACA subsidies. Bird, you could look it up. It's really not that hard. But ACA subsidies. They bypassed Dems to swear 100 Republicans on Tuesday. No, they didn't bypass Dems. They changed the Senate rules, which they are allowed to do, that made it so they could swear in like positions en masse as opposed to one at a time. That's different. Those are House rules. Read it. I've read it.
Yeah, Senate rules, you mean.
And it's not 1.5 trillion worth. That you can't add 10 years to a 1 year bill. They like to talk in 10 years, but they're not it's not 10 years. Oh, I understand, Wendy and Faye. It's absolutely ridiculous. Although I will say, the swearing in of 100 people in the administration was the Senate. It's Mike Johnson that has to swear in the Democrat in the House. Those are different people. I don't like either of the people in charge. I'm not a fan of Thune either, but those are technically separate. Like Thune can't swear in someone from the House of Representatives.
And there's a misnomer that because the House is not in session, that the Democrat from the 7th District of Arizona cannot be sworn in. That's not true. They could swear them in anytime they feel like.
Yep. Thanks, KJ. Everyone's saying it. Best shutdown. Yeah, seriously. By the way, for everyone that's on here, I'm live here and on the tube. We're trying to grow over there, so if you like what we do here, please consider going over there, following. We put out new episodes Tuesday, Thursday, and actually, someone else has kind of joined the team, and we're going to be putting out even more episodes starting probably sometime next month. And it's going to be different stuff. So we're really trying to expand on things. But also, because we're live over there, you may not get filtered, which is which is nice. And it's just more fun. Riche, if you saw, she's the wife of the person in the military. If you saw that episode.
I'm so excited that there's someone else joining so that you can produce at scale. That's awesome.
Yeah. Are we upset about the shutdown? I mean, upset? Sure. I mean, again, do I think if the Republicans are not going to negotiate in any way, shape, or form, then they are getting what they are going to get? But no, I don't want to see people not get paid. I don't want to see people go on furlough. I don't want to see people having to work without pay. I don't want to see people having to deal with all of that stress. I don't want to see people getting funding removed on these things. Of course I don't.
And the American people not being able to access the services of their government, not being able to call up Social Security with a question.
Missouri trucker, they are not strong leaders. Strong leaders don't use the lives of people the way that the Republicans are.
Strong leaders don't bully people.
Strong leaders do their job, and the job of the majority is things like negotiation. They don't threaten to try and take away furlough payments to try and force people to sign things. Again, regardless of whether they can do it, you don't make those kind of threats to try and get people to sign it.
Bullying and coercive tactics does not make you a good leader. I don't care what anybody says. You don't use coercion if you want to be a good leader.
I mean,
ever.
You all should be concerned that their only bargaining chip is not political power or anything to do with them. The GOP is leveraging American workers. They're saying the longer you don't acquiesce to what we want, the longer you don't cave to what we want, the longer these people are going to go unpaid. Do you feel good about that? We should be upset about that.
I know they can't talk anymore, but again, if you don't like who our representatives work for, regardless, I mean, again, I know there's good argument for it. Primary them. For God's sake, primary them. That's the easiest way to deal with it. There are literally hundreds of people running that are saying they will not take money from AIPAC. They will not support this. But if they do not get through the primaries, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, vote. You know what's interesting? The same sort of thing is kind of actually happening in my province right now in Alberta, because the teachers are on strike right now because the government here in Alberta is refusing to negotiate a good deal with the teachers. So the teachers went on strike. The province has locked them out of their classrooms right now. And the province is trying to say, well, all of these teachers are striking unpaid and they just want more money and stuff. You know what the teachers want? They want classroom caps. So there's only so many students in each public classroom so they can effectively teach. They want more EAs available so they can support the students in their class who have special needs and stuff. So the teachers are on strike. The province is sitting here trying to blame the teachers. And you know what? The people are coming for the government in Canada right now. The people of Alberta are going, we're not buying that garbage the government's trying to feed us. It is not the people who work for the government that you should be angry at. It should be your government for the fact that they can't do their job and they're incompetent. All of the other words that I'm going to use are probably not TikTok friendly, so I'm just going to go with incompetent goobers because that's the best I can come up with. And they can't do their job. It was, and this is coming from Canadian. It is the Republicans who are in control of all three branches of government right now. They have every ability to do everything to get these bills passed, to get whatever they need done, because they are in control of everything. And they're choosing not to because they don't want to give up anything in the CR. to put in anything that Democratic people might actually want to pass, like, I don't know, maybe PBS funding back in there and stuff again, because they don't want to do any of that. And they're choosing not to negotiate. They're choosing not to look at any of the stuff. And then they're choosing to use the workers as a tool to blame everybody for the fact that they are incompetent at their job and they just want to fleece the Canadian or the American people for every cent that they have. And not give them services.
So
Missouri trucker, thank you for your excellent election analysis. However, here in the
every
world of
special
reality,
election would disagree with you.
yeah, here in the world of reality, we have had 47 special elections since the election of 2024, and the Democrats are averaging 16 points better than they did in the election of 2024. Now, the last time that happened was exactly never. It is the highest outperformance ever recorded. So good luck with your theory that you have there, Missouri trucker. Unfortunately, it has nothing to do with the land of facts.
I just heard that Fairbanks, Alaska had a mayoral election just recently. And for the first time in over a decade, they voted a Democrat in as mayor of Fairbanks. So,
and in a couple of weeks, Missouri trucker, you can keep your eye on the state of Virginia. They elected a Republican governor 4 years ago.
And New Jersey.
And we'll see who is going to win now. I have a prediction that Ms. Stamberger, the Democratic nominee, is going to win by anywhere between 10 and 14 points.
And did you see any of the debate, the New Jersey governor debate? That was wild.
Oh my God, what happened?
Oh, just
Mikey Sherrill owning.
Mikey Sherrill went off on Shitterelli.
You'll appreciate this, Tiffany. She made an incredible point about Jack Shitterelli making millions of dollars off of opioids while the New Jersey population was affected with an opioid crisis and people were unaliving. I tried to do that in the most like TikTok friendly way.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there was it was pretty bad.
Yeah, I think she's put her campaign back on fairly solid footing. Is she going to win as much as Stamberger will win in Virginia? Probably not, but those are due to some very specific New Jersey circumstances, namely property taxes, electric bills, and first and foremost, for the last 40 years, New Jersey has not given any political party 12 straight years in the governorship. And if Mikey wins, she will be giving the Democrats 12 straight years. So those are some internal New Jersey things that'll hold down her margin of victory, but I'm still fairly confident that she's going to end up winning.
Should Jay Jones drop out of his race? I mean, that's up to Jay Jones. I mean, I don't know if he's the only one, if they're the only one running on their seat. If I were voting and it was between them and someone else, it would depend on who the other person is. But I'd definitely strongly consider based on that. But I mean, but considering what was leaked. So here's the thing. I struggle when, and again, I don't know you, Tricky, but when people that come in and are actively supporting an administration where some of the worst things on the planet have been leaked about them and they still get your support, I find it very difficult to take you coming in and talking about something that leaked about somebody else massively seriously. The guy in charge of ICE basically took a $50,000 bribe. $50,000 bribe.
In a paper bag.
In a paper bag. and no one is batting an eye about it. So again, yeah, okay. And yeah, it's not good. Shouldn't have said it. Really bad. But it's not up to me to decide if they should step down. People vote. I'm assuming there's multiple people on the primary, so maybe someone else will win. That's his decision to make, not mine. That's what a primary's for. When the big guy got 10%.
I have no idea what that's even supposed to mean.
Who's the big guy?
Missouri Trucker, the election expert, please explain what you mean by that.
I like when I say people need to be more specific so we know what they're talking about, and they end up being more vague.
Well, the big guy could be like so many things. Is he talking about snuffleupagus? Like, who is he talking about? Like, this is why we use names. Proper pronouns are important.
And again, do I think what Jay Jones said was absolutely wrong? Yes. Should people consider not voting for him? Yes. But again, that's what a primary's for. But I also find it very difficult to take people who like to point out what Democrats do wrong seriously when they can't even look logically and try and hold their own people accountable for some of the absolutely wretched things that they have done.
That's exactly it. It's like, we understand that Democrats do things wrong. We also hold those people to account. We also talk about how they've done things incorrectly. We also talk about how ineffective they've been when they do have power. And yet the same people who are like, well, Jay Jones said XYZ cannot say this is a shutdown caused by the GOP or exacerbated by
Tricky.
the GOP.
I literally pointed out the fact that the head of ICE, the person doing all of the stuff that they're doing right now, took a bribe, and you haven't said anything about it. And again, you might come in and just be like, yeah, it was bad. He took a bribe. You're looking into it. You never heard about this? It's been talked about ad nauseum.
Why don't you look into it right now, P. Tricky? You're not missing anything.
That's what he said.
He said tonight.
Oh, that's what TN.
Look into it right now.
Yeah, look into it right now. Like, it's literally the FBI that said it. I know, Philip. I know. Human, is that his name? He's the head of ICE. He's the border czar or whatever friggin' name they've given him. Yeah, they got video of it. Yep. They still ignore it. By the way, everyone who's on here, if you're not following over on the tube, please consider doing that. We put out long form content. It's really good stuff. Just put out one today. With an amazing singer-songwriter. And there might be something in the future going on, collaboration with that person. Just saying. Might be. So, there's a lot of things going on. What is he looking up? The FBI's report that Homan, the border czar, took a $50,000 bribe. The human thumb. But we're trying, so over on the tube, we're trying to get to the point where I can also monetize over there. So we need views, we need things like that. So Any help is much appreciated. And the episodes are really good, and I think you'll enjoy them.
Yeah, P. Tricky's busy. Like, he isn't back yet talking about it because he's trying to find the spin. I'm sure he's looking for what Fox News has said about it so that he can come in here and
Or
say
the
more
response of
exactly.
Bondi on it.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I have never been more like that.
I'll
If,
say it. That woman is
did you see the
a villain.
picture of her
She's a villain.
notes? She literally had a page for every senator that was going to ask questions, so she could just come back with some X post. Like, it wasn't even a real post. She had literally clips from X to talk about.
That's embarrassing.
Sounds like she was prepared. That stuff that Republicans do. You think instead of answering questions, making personal attacks about something that a senator does is being prepared? That sounds like avoiding the question.
I think Missouri Trucker forgets that the government works for you.
She
And-
technically works for the senators, not the president. She's actually not supposed to do the president's wishes. The fact that there was a Truth Social post that accidentally got posted that ended up being a private message to Bondi where Trump accidentally posted it, where he told Bondi to go after Comey. That's not supposed to be happening. The story is concerning, but why did the Trump DOJ FBI drop all charges?
Is he
Oh
for
my
real?
God. Do you not understand that having people police themselves is the reason we got here? You don't think that the administration, who has a president that filled every position he could with loyalists and will burn the houses down of federal judges who disagree with him, with people inside of it, are going to really investigate whether or not the borders are that they told to take a bribe, took a bribe or not?
Both parties do what? Vu. Both parties do what? Again, how are they so blind? It's not that they're blind, it's that they have a worldview that they want to be real. And they will justify anything to make sure that that worldview exists for them.
It's almost like it's a cult.
It is tough having your worldview challenged, and the general response when your worldview is challenged is to fight back instead of actually going through the pain and annoyance and uncomfortability of reflecting on it. Most people don't want to do it. That is why you're seeing what you're seeing. It's easier. People like easy. People like easy. That's why they like the world being black and white. Gray is complicated. Gray takes work. Black and white, easy. This good, this bad. Hate this, love this. When that's all you have to deal with, everything's fine. Straight up silence to your question. Based on the fact that I answered the last question you said, I'm guessing that whatever you said after got filtered. So maybe you should.
If the question is, why did they drop charges? Why did this administration stop investigating itself
Because
for bribery,
Because
you can't think of a reason why somebody who has power to stop an investigation against themselves would do it. Do you
because
need me to explain
because
that?
we have a president. Oh my gosh. Bye. We're done. We're done. I just told you that chances are your message was filtered. Just told you.
They've been here for hours and have provided zero value, so I guarantee that whatever was filtered wasn't worth our time anyway.
Well, not only that theory, just about every question that person had asked has actually been addressed.
I know.
And you can't expect your host or the members of the panel to see every single thing on a scroll that's moving a million miles a minute.
And it's
I mean,
Gish
that's-
galloping.
that's-
Yeah, it's the same guy who was talking about how he went to Mexico, dislocated his shoulder.
His brother.
Oh, his brother. His brother's girlfriend, who previously lived in Canada, went down to Mexico, and she maybe was in a soccer match and dislocated her shoulder and went to go get. No. But the second I bring up my experience in France, it's anecdotal, not evidence. But his dislocated shoulder is evidence.
Well, it is. It was a very important dislocated shoulder.
Holly, what corruption are you seeing on both sides that is this bad? And again, I'm not even saying you're wrong. No one here is going to sit here and say that there are not corrupt politicians on both sides, but you seem to think that both sides are equal in this. And while I agree that it is on both sides, I disagree that it is equal. So I want to make sure I understand what you consider to be the vast level of corruption. I love watching these hyper politicals argue over who has the least corrupt politician. I'm not arguing over who has the least corrupt politician. Corruption's corruption. There's not a level of it. I want to make sure I understand.
What is a hyper political?
I don't know.
Before you come in here throwing shade, can you write a sentence that makes sense? Because what is a hyper political?
This isn't a side thing, Holly. Okay, we're gonna have another public service announcement, guys. This isn't a side thing, okay? None of these conversations are sides. Go look in the mirror and you'll know. Goodbye. When you are trying to have a conversation and you're trying to learn, when people say things, we're going to ask questions. It's not that you're right or wrong. You're saying something, and you may be right. I'm totally willing to agree. You said something that I don't totally agree with, so that might change the way that I'm viewing the statement and I'm viewing things. So when I ask a question, that's why I'm asking. I'm not trying to prove you wrong. I'm not trying to say, oh, you're not on our side. You said something I disagreed with. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to understand. That's how conversation works. I understand that we are in a time where, no, I mean, I've never seen a literal. Oh, well, yeah, sure. But you said both sides. So that was the unknown.
Yeah, and when it comes to corruption, it is a two-way street, and I don't know anybody either on this panel or you, Mike, or anybody even in chat. When the former senator from New Jersey, Bob Menendez, got caught with gold bars and, bearer bonds in his closet and was sent to jail, that we weren't happy about that. He's a scumbag. He got caught. Go to jail. What I find interesting is that the head of ICE gets $50,000 in a bag, and where's Tucker Carlson screaming about that? Where's Fox News making that a lead headline? Where's Fox News even mentioning it in their broadcast?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that most MAGAs don't even know about it? He got caught with $50K in cash in a bag. and it's on film. And why has that been buried?
I
Why?
remember when Joe Manchin was caught being corrupt. That's a Democrat, for anybody wondering. And every news site, regardless of what we think their political affiliation is, was blasting it from the mountaintops. Everyone was talking about it. What happens when the GOP gets caught engaging in any sort of corrupt behavior is they silence it and bury it. They never mention it on Fox News. They create this echo chamber where you don't think it's real.
Yeah.
That's hyper politicalization of media sources.
Well, and
propaganda.
that goes back to the ultimate nightmare that we will soon be facing with the consolidation of media, entertainment, and social media all within one bubble. And that is very dangerous, no matter whose bubble it is. That is very dangerous for a democracy. It can be fatal for a democracy. Just ask Viktor Orban's Hungary, if you need any examples.
Ask the people of Germany.
Well, that was a little bit even further than that. I'm talking about just information.
I agree, Holly. The level of everything that we are seeing right now is unprecedented in this country. Not in other countries, but in this country, it's pretty. I mean, I've seen some arguments that in some other years, some certain things are pretty similar, but as a whole, I would agree it's unprecedented for this country what we're seeing right now.
I think one of the things that's really getting to me about this level of constant chaos and of an erosion and an active violence against the systems that we've put in place as American citizens and as a government is the speed. Because to me, part of where I think Democrats have failed over time is we've been told this idea that this stuff takes generations of work, right? That like my rights are never going to be fully secured while I'm alive. The best I can do is work for the next generation because that's how long it takes to build equality. And yet someone can come in and in 9 months tear everything up and change everything about what we know to be true about American government and politics. So to me, it's like we've been told that democracy is what we need and democracy is the best for everyone. And, I'm sorry, you got to wait your turn. It's not the time for gay rights. It's not the time for Black liberation. It's not the time for reparation. It will be eventually. And then you have someone come in and destroy everything so quickly. So to me, it's like, okay, so maybe one of the failings of Democrats is that we didn't need to be so passive about ensuring equality for our people. We didn't have to take so much time.
Vonda, it's not technically called the Purple Movement. It's called the Purple Revolution. A former MAGA who considers himself still a conservative, is trying to create a coalition of red and blue that makes purple, so we can fight against the current administration. There's a lot of weird things going on with that right now, but that is what that is about. I think conservatives that are realizing they done messed up are starting to realize that it's not, no matter what they think, it's not going to be as easy as saying, oh man, we messed up and let's all sing Kumbaya. Very sus. I mean, again, so I'm going to be making a video. Follow me if you're not already, because I'm going to be making a video about it after this. There's stuff that it's not sus if they, in the sense of if they actually vote against MAGA, if they actually keep speaking out against it, that part's not sus. There's some other parts that they're not quite there yet. They need to accept some certain realities before they can before their at least part of it can go. So it's
And Mike, I have a question on that as well. Is that I understand what you said to unite against the current administration, but is it also not part of it to unite against incumbents in general? Basically, get rid of them?
I think it's to unite against the status quo.
Yeah, the who's ever in power, no matter who it is, get rid of them.
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
Tear it all down type of.
there's a lot to it. Like I said, I'm gonna be making a video about it. I'm gonna go through this person. Technically, it's if one person started it. They called themselves Purple Revolution, and then there's a couple other creators that have kind of joined the leadership of it. I guess I don't know what you want to call it. There are some things that they've got to work through in order for it to do anything close. No, not really another Tea Party per se, but again, it's not bad in the grand scheme of things. I think their hope is that it will be broader than it is possible for it to be. And like I said, I'll be going over a lot of the problems with it. It's
If you want a problem, Mike, my biggest problem, to add to your video, my biggest problem is someone who did not believe people who look like me are human beings
I
a
know.
day ago shouldn't have jurisdiction on leadership for a revolution. The person at fault, the party at fault, should not be the party looking to lead it.
Well, yeah. Like I said, I think their hope was that it could be much more broad than the realities could actually be. I personally, I don't have an issue with him being leader of a revolution that helps convince more conservatives that this is wrong. I have no issue with that per se. I
Right.
do have an issue with him thinking that he, as someone who voted against all these people, can be a leader of a massive of the level of broad coalition that he is trying to do.
Yeah, I tend to agree with what you and Theory said, although with one important caveat. And something that is important as elections are and winning elections, you take your allies where you find them. And if we can get some votes out of this, all the power to him. He's not going to succeed in getting a broad-based movement, but any conservatives who want to peel off will take the votes.
And again, I trust this, especially this early on, because he hasn't been doing it very long. This early on, I wouldn't trust anyone as far as I could throw them at this point. I am open to a conversation with someone who wants to learn, who truly believes that they messed up. If they truly believe they messed up, I'm willing to have a conversation with them. I am. Shouldn't be having conversations with other people probably, but I'd be willing to. But yeah, things like wearing a 1776 shirt, probably not the best idea. And again, he's made videos about his views on certain things, and while some of them are good, some of them are problematic. And he may, depending how far in the MAGA he was, he may not realize why they're problematic. I don't know. I haven't talked to this guy yet. I just have seen the videos. So anyways, there's a lot going on with it. Who is he? His name on TikTok is Purple Revolution. I don't know his actual. Yeah, I don't fully agree with the way some people have responded to it. I'm perfectly fine with the way some people have responded to it, obviously, too. I think some people, I don't know. On the internet, it's really easy to jump down. I mean, we've done it here. It's really easy to jump down someone's throat before we get all the information. And again, did he handle it right? Maybe not. But Yeah, I know Friendly Honey Badger is all in. I've seen some of her videos about it. And again, I have no issue. They haven't released any files. They haven't released the files in forever. Your blood pressure has gone down with this logic. Thank you, Kristen. I appreciate that. Again, look, the hardest part about any coalition is, especially one that involves the left, is how broad of views that we have on things, and how wide of a variety of people. That, yes, are there people from all the different communities in the conservative area? Yes, but those numbers are really small. Like really small. You're never going to get you're never going to get the kind of broad coalition on the left that you can get on the right, which is why when we talk about coalition here, we talk about coalition based on fundamentals that we all can agree on. That will at some times, even with this community, I guarantee you, at some times, that is all we have. You're not falling for it, and that's fine, Casey. That is 100% fine, and I don't expect everyone to go in on it. I'm not all in on it. That's why you haven't seen me make anything about it. The video that I'm going to make today is going to be a response to what I have heard and seen regarding it, the things that are problematic from it. So
I think we've talked about this when we were trying to establish coalition building right after the election here. Everyone has different talents, different interests, different charisma, different callings that are all necessary for building broad-based coalitions. There are some people who are great at talking across the aisle. They're great, like this is not me personally. I'm not this person. This is not my role, okay? But for a moment, we're gonna play in an exercise. Let's pretend I'm a person. Let's pretend I'm a person.
you are a person.
I know. Let's pretend I am a person who is really even keel, really level-headed, and wants to talk to someone in my community who is voting Republican or conservative about issues. That's great. Go do that, right? And then there are some people who want to make a ton of videos, get people riled up, get people angry enough to motivate them, because that is a motivator as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there are roles that everybody plays. My issue with anyone coming from the right thinking that they're going to build broad coalition is that there is no deprogramming step that happens, right? There is no relearning how to exist in community with other people who aren't Republican. So as someone, if he wanted to make his mission to talk to other conservatives and to get them to see more purple than red, go off, do it. That's great. But I don't agree with the other side.
Well, and again, that's one of the things that I'll end up talking about is if you look at the way he talks about certain things, there's still this desire to go back to the way things were. Again, if you look at what he wants to go back to the way things were, it's a little wishy-washy on whether or not I agree with all of it. But there's definitely some issues. He is definitely struggling, which, again, there are lots of people that are formerly MAGA that are struggling, or that are MAGA that are struggling because of what's going on. And again, his overarching desire for Americans to come together is not a bad thing. I just think there's more to it than he probably thought when he decided to try and do this. So we'll see where it goes from here. But So it's the GOP's fault for not wanting to add one. No one's adding $1.5 trillion in a 1-year budget. No one's adding $1.5 trillion in a 1-year budget.
Is that, I keep hearing that number over and over and over and over again, and of course it's nonsensical. Where are they getting that from? Is that like a Newsmax thing or
No,
something like that?
it's a Johnson. I don't know if Thune said it, but it's definitely a Johnson thing. Democrats want it added. No, Democrats do not want $1.5 trillion added to the CR. No one wants. It was proposed again. Bobby, do you understand how negotiations work? And no, they don't. 1.5 trillion is nowhere in their budget. But do you understand how negotiations work? Do you understand how negotiations work? The Republicans put out a budget, put out what they want to do. The Democrats, who they did not talk to at all, said, no, we don't want that. No one's talked to us. We're not voting for this. This is what we want. So they put out their full budget. If they had everything, this is what we would do. And then in a real negotiation, the Republicans would go, nope, we don't want that. What is the least that we can add to make 8 people be willing to sign this? No, the budget that they put forth did not have $1.5 trillion in it. Nowhere did that budget say $1.5 trillion.
If you're so concerned about the deficit, then why would you be okay with the big, beautiful bill, which adds to our deficit?
$4 trillion.
$4 trillion. If you care about trillions of dollars, why aren't you protesting the big, beautiful bill that gives tax cuts to the wealthiest people in this country at the tune of raising our deficit $4 trillion? This is why I don't believe you. This is why I don't engage with you, because it's not in good faith. You don't actually give a shit about $1.5 trillion deficits or budget.
Folks.
You care about the Dems versus GOP.
Folks who are saying the $1.5 trillion deficit, adding $1.5 trillion to the budget, will you please just make a slim attempt at entering the world of reality? Do you know what the entire budget is? Well, of course you don't, because you don't bother to learn. The entire budget for the full year of 2025, everything, all in, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the Defense Department, and the $1 trillion that we have to pay on the national debt, comes to a grand total of $6.6 trillion. That's it. That's the whole budget. And you're actually saying the Democrats now want to add $1.5 trillion in just this continuing CR? That's insane. It's nowhere near that. The Democrats are asking for one thing: to continue the subsidies for the ACA just as they have existed for the last number of years. No more, no less. They're asking just to continue those subsidies that are already in the budget. Jesus Christ.
The fact is even if they added back in the subsidies for the ACA, you want to know what could change in the next budget? They could take it out again. That's why when they say $1.5 trillion, it's a lie. Because nothing is final in any budget, because Congress can literally redo it all every year. That's why there's a budget every year. No shit. Well, then stop making up dumbass numbers that aren't true.
And again, the subsidies for the ACA are already there. The Republicans are trying to cut them.
It's not true. It's not true. They are not adding $1.5 trillion into the 2026 budget.
Again, the entire budget is 6.6 trillion. The whole thing, everything, including payments of $1 trillion on the interest. They are only talking about ACA subsidies, which currently exist in the budget. The Democrats want to
The
continue.
subsidies do not cost $1.5 trillion. They didn't even, oh my gosh. You didn't even look at what was in the budget that the Democrats put in. You didn't look. No, not total. No. The subsidies are not 1.5 trillion total.
That is unbelievable. It's just unbelievable.
No, you know what's really unbelievable? I went to go Google about the ACA subsidies.
Then there's
That
a
was-
raise somewhere in there for both. Oh my gosh. Show us you don't know what you're talking about. And
It was
other
just-
BS.
it
Okay.
was-
Yes,
it's
you
so
can.
far gone.
Yes, you can.
So far gone.
Yes.
Just
Yeah, they're done. But you know what's really unbelievable? I went to Google what the ACA subsidies are because I'm in Canada, so I'm like, I don't know what the number is. And, you know, as somebody who works in the accounting field, I like to see the actual budget and read it. Every article that comes up is a promotion for the current administration and their views on all of this. So even Google right now has curated my search engine so that all of the top articles, information, all gears towards that the Trump administration is doing the right thing, and so are all of the Republicans, which is scary.
And again, folks, we are only talking about the enhanced subsidies that were put in under Biden during COVID. There would still be subsidies. This is not a big dollar amount that we're talking about. It's just not.
Yeah.
And it's certainly not $1.5 trillion, which is just moronic to even continue to say that out of an entire budget. You're talking 25% of the entire budget. Wrong.
Oh yeah.
That's wrong.
And this administration has been spending money like crazy. They have spent they even with the money that we have brought in from tariffs, which is more than normal for obvious reasons, they have already spent way over what is budgeted. Like way over. We're talking like hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. I wish this panel could go prime time. We're trying. If we can grow big enough over on the tube, who knows what we could do? Or if we can find someone who's willing to fund this whole thing, and then I can hire people and we can really grow. I would love to be able to really do this full time and do stuff like that. That would be cool. So if anyone knows, you know, grow some hair. Hold on. How old do you think I am, sir? Or ma'am? I don't want to assume your gender. How old do you think I am? You think I'm 58? Okay.
Isn't this the same one from yesterday?
Yeah.
Are we done?
Yeah. Weird fixation. Most people, I mean, I'm sure he thought I was young too. And basically when I asked the question, he just made up an old number.
I was on Legal
58
Dads.
isn't that old.
I was on Legal Dads Live the other night, and this woman was having a fit because he lives in Vegas and he didn't have an undershirt on under his collared polo like golf shirt or like t-shirt thing, and she just kept talking about how weird he was because he wasn't wearing an undershirt. And I was like, I think it's even weirder that some strange person on the internet is sitting here talking about whether or not somebody's got on an undershirt or not.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care. I don't mind. I wouldn't mind being 58. I only ever ask it because people usually think that I'm really young, so I don't know anything. That's the only reason I ever bring it up. I don't care. I don't care how old they think I am.
Well, since we have a pause here, you want to do the commercial?
Sure. Time flies.
Before we launch into the
Okay,
commercial,
folks. Yeah, I know we're getting close to the end now.
wait,
Well-
Scott, wait, before, I was looking up compared to previous administrations over in the last 10 months or 9 months, they are $200 billion above what is typically spent in the first full year of an administration.
Mhm.
So if you give a shit about $1.5 trillion like you say you do, you should care that your president is spending at a clip that we've never seen before to the tune of 200 billion additional dollars.
Julie, because I'm trying to grow over there and we don't know what it's going to be like over here, the tube is always going to be better at the moment.
Sorry, Scott, go off. Commercial time.
Okay, well, as always, a fascinating, in-depth, and informative conversation was had here this morning and will continue for about another half hour. And that's thanks to your host, Mike. And if you take a look in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, you will see Mike's name. Right next to Mike's name, though, is the important thing. It's a little orange-colored heart. Please tap on that heart. You all know what's going to happen. A big giant box is going to drop down, and on the right-hand side of that box are 6 small rectangular boxes. Some will be empty. Don't worry about those. Some, however, are going to be shaded in black. Please tap on those black boxes, and there's a reason for it. Because your content creator, Mike, gets points, and that's pretty darned important. But gee, don't you wish there was something in it for you to do that 5 seconds of energy? Hey, guess what? There is. You get the same amount of points that Mike gets. You get points. Mike gets points. And in today's world, who ever heard of a win-win like that? And while you're at it, folks, check out the Discord. That is where the community gathers together to discuss anything they feel like. Movies, cooking, their favorite pets, donkeys. And did I mention donkeys? And they talk about donkeys. And they also talk about politics. So whatever subject you want to talk about, you can talk about on Discord. And don't forget about the Substack. Mike opines on a various subject of interest to him that day, and he strongly encourages community involvement in that. And the best part is that you get to listen to it or you get to read it, whatever floats your boat. Some people like to listen. Some people like me like to read it. Doesn't matter. You get a choice. Last but not least, the thing that Mike's really working very hard on, and we all know it, is over at the Tube of You. Please check that out. Preferably subscribe to it, but if not, just check it out. You will find Mike has long-form content over there and now short-form content, but I'll talk about the long-form content. That takes about an hour, and he has very interesting guests. They are informative, they are educated, they know their subject matter, as does your host. It's always an interesting subject, usually about politics, but not always. He talks about a lot of different things. And if you haven't tried one of them out, I've just got a little challenge for you. Just do one of them. Just do one. I have a feeling that you will like it enough that you will come back for more. And there's a second reason for that, folks, and Mike has already alluded to it earlier in this conversation. Let's face it, we don't know where TikTok is going. We can't be certain of what's going to be here or maybe not be here in 2 months, 3 months, 5 months from now. We don't know. So please get used to using the Tube of You, because that could end up being a landing place for this community. And I know you're going to want to stay engaged and involved. So please check it out. Check out his content over there. You won't be disappointed.
And I put the same content over there that I put over here. I'm just posting them in both places. Also on Insta, if you are on Insta. Thanks,
Ooh,
Scott.
something I was gonna say.
Welcome.
I was gonna say earlier. GT. Did you hear what GT got to do this morning?
Got to
Yeah,
do?
yeah. He called in on C-SPAN and got to ask Mike Johnson a question.
Wow. No, I didn't see that.
He said,
Did he ask him about his Grinder account?
Did he ask him about the young boy that he illegally adopted when he was a single man in his 20s?
Yeah, the young kid who's like 7 years younger than he is, that he quote adopted end quote, except nobody can find any information that actually relates to a legal adoption.
Yeah. Yep.
That's
Yep.
interesting. Now, if that was a Democrat, I wonder what would be happening.
It's the same thing Matt Gaetz did, except Matt Gaetz took a Cuban immigrant child. Yeah.
But yes, Joey, yes. I always live stream here and on the tube at the same time, especially at least for now. As long as I can, I will.
Claudia asked, wasn't that Matt Gaetz? Yeah, I looked into this because I was confused. They're very similar stories, but Matt Gaetz is a young man, as a young single man, adopted an immigrant Cuban young boy. And Mike Johnson separately also, when he was a young man, single, illegally adopted and never provided paperwork, never provided anything, a black child who was, disappeared.
There are pictures of them
Yeah, there are pictures.
as a family unit, and then once he became speaker, that kid has disappeared into the ether. Nobody knows where he's at. Nobody knows who he is, where he is, what he is. Nobody knows anything about it. He's sort of gone from the mainstream of the Mike Johnson family.
Mike Johnson has also spoken about this child and his relationship to this child in his own words. So the people saying it's not true, I mean, are you calling Mike Johnson a liar?
No, facts are relative.
That's so weird.
Is the world of facts are relative. Yeah.
Anna, it's funny. There's no way that Matt Gaetz could have been any worse of an attorney general than the one we ended up getting. Well, maybe he could have. I don't know. But we ended up with Pam Bondi, who my recommendation to the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, is on your way out the door, make sure you hire a very, very good criminal lawyer because you're going to need him.
Yep. Hi, Eleanor. Thanks for popping over on the tube and saying hi. It's just, I am so exhausted by the news.
So what I was gonna say, well, because I sat there for a long time trying to figure out why I was unmuted a while ago when you're like, Kia, you're unmuted. Because I was getting ready to start talking, and then everybody else started talking. So then I just started doing stuff. Everybody was just kind of walked away.
It's because you still, every time you talk, you're still not coming off unmute. So I think all of us, I don't know.
That microphone with the line through it never goes away from you, kid. Do you know that?
Well, no, because I can't see. For me, it's not on. Like you're talking, both of you just talked, and it shows both of you is muted.
No, I'm looking at myself, and I'm unmuted now. But even when you speak, Kia, your microphone. That's why nobody knows when you're getting ready to jump in. Your microphone never goes away. It just stays there.
That's what I'm telling you. Like yours literally is doing the same exact thing. Yours just showing is muted.
What's funny is that I can see that Scott's unmuted, but I can't see that you're unmuted, Kia. That's the interesting part. Scott is unmuted for me, just as I'm unmuted, but you're not. You're muted.
Yeah, when
It's
Tiffany
weird.
or Theory speak, their microphone goes away for me, but when Kia speaks, it's always there.
This is what happens when America buys something.
Oh
It
no,
makes
it's true.
a product.
But like when you guys are talking about like, you know, going, so many people, especially people that live close to the border, go to Mexico for a lot of care, especially dental care. Like one of my like best friends, like I was there, cut the cord when she had her baby girlfriend, had to get some pretty intensive dental work done. And she flew to Mexico. All inclusive in her price was staying at an Airbnb. They picked her up. They took her to the office. They did all the procedures. She was there for a week. They brought her back. Every day they did that while she was there. And it was like like she saved thousands of dollars doing that. And it is just crazy why that's why it's like for me, why we always say when we talk about we're so great, we're so far behind on so many things. Like this other creator I follow, she actually lives in Mexico and is almost done with her being able to get her full it's not citizenship, it's something else. I can't remember the word. But like she got sick, she went to the doctors. It was like $50 for the medication for her to be seen a couple different times. And I'm like, when you're sitting here arguing about people who you don't believe should have health care get seen by doctors, the fact that other countries can do it for so much less than we do, that's what you should be bitching about, not about the fact that people actually need and deserve to get health care, regardless of where they're from, what they look like, what language they speak, or whatever.
By the way, Michelle, thanks for being here, and I'm glad you're feeling it. We try and make this place enjoyable for people and a place where we can actually learn, not just yell at each other.
Well, Lisa, you might want to look into maybe going south of the border.
How depressing is that? How depressing is it as American citizens that we pay so much money in taxes where everyone is always constant, at least the working classes are always complaining about how much money we have to pay in taxes. And yet, when we need healthcare that we pay for, we already pay for it with our taxes, we have to go down south. We have to go find other ways to make it affordable. That's not a system that's working for us.
Yep.
You're right.
And instead, these people, like the GOP, instead of saying that, which is a communal pain in the ass, in the wallet, okay? We all feel this pain collectively at different levels because people are affected differently. But like my neighbors who are super conservative also complain about how high their taxes are for how little they get healthcare benefits, or how they're scared that their social security benefits are going to go away. That's not a government that is actively working in our best interest.
No.
You should be upset about that.
Yep.
Not like saying undocumented migrants are the reasons that your healthcare is so expensive. No, it's not. They have nothing to do with it.
No.
No, they don't. And the way our healthcare system is set up, again, as I pointed out yesterday, and we discussed it, Medicare, which is an example of a large healthcare organization that's run by the government, their operating costs is about 1% of premium, whereas a private insurance company makes about 20% profit. So right off Jump Street, you'd be saving 20%. But wait, folks, you get a lot more for that. If you had single-payer health care, it would end up costing the country even less than that because you're going to have better health care outcomes. People aren't going to wait until it's too late to go see a doctor and rack up huge hospital bills. Secondly, if you had single-payer health care, the power of the government to negotiate with drug companies would be immense. And thirdly and lastly, what about you having to stay in jobs that you hate because you have health insurance through that job? The American workforce would be free to go anywhere for any job they wanted, knowing that their health care is always taken care of. Folks, leave the morality out of it for a second, although that's the biggest argument. Even forgetting the morality of the issue of having everybody covered, it's cheaper. It's a less expensive way to go.
Missouri trucker, let me explain something to you. When you pay your taxes, you don't make adult decisions about where your taxes actually get to go. What you are claiming is that undocumented immigrants are somehow driving up healthcare costs, to which I argue they actually reduce the overall tax burden on all Americans because undocumented migrants and immigrants pay taxes and cannot access the benefits of those taxes. They cannot get health care. It is illegal for them to receive health care as undocumented immigrants. And yet they pay taxes on their wages. They pay taxes on property if they own anything.
They pay.
So our pool of tax collection is bigger because of undocumented immigrants, and they don't get any of that benefit. We do.
Missouri trucker, I deliberately put it in terms of dollars and cents, leaving out morality. That's not adulting. That's called saving money. That's called having a less expensive healthcare system.
When an
Deliberately, for a reason, put it in just dollars and cents. And I don't know what part of that didn't sink into you.
When an undocumented migrant goes to the hospital and they can't pay their bill, it goes through collections. It goes through debt consolidation services, and people buy up that debt and try to collect on that debt. I don't understand why you think the problem with why healthcare in this country is ass is undocumented migrants and immigrants. Because if I were looking to analyze why healthcare is so expensive in this country, I wouldn't be looking at the smallest population. I'd be looking at the entire systemic structure of it. I'd be looking at insurance companies who are run like for-profit businesses who get to make decisions about whether or not my health condition gets coverage. And they use AI to make those types of equations. That's what I would be looking at. But you spend your time punching down because any other punching would mean that you'd have to address the larger system. And it's much easier for you to look at a brown person and say it's their fault for why your healthcare costs are so high, instead of looking at your frickin' God and saying maybe the policies that they're pushing are detrimental to me and my wallet and my family.
And I'm glad that you believe that every human being deserves to get health care. Health? I mean, you just said health. I don't know why you stopped at that, but I'm glad that you believe that. What we're saying is, if you want to change the way our healthcare works, and if you want to change the way our immigration works, then do that. Stop whining and complaining and endangering other human beings, other Americans even, by just cutting things willy-nilly in order to get, I don't know what you're trying to get, because you're not saving really any money, especially not in the grand scheme of things.
That's what I'm getting at. Even if we all of a sudden decided to say we're not allowing any undocumented immigrant through the doors of an emergency room, your healthcare would not go down. Your healthcare costs would not go down because the effect, if there is any effect, is marginal. It is infinitesimally small.
It is de minimis. It's de minimis. It's not a major factor in our healthcare costs at all.
And
A
no,
minor factor in our healthcare costs.
You wouldn't
At all.
really see any return. You wouldn't see You wouldn't see a penny, a quarter of a penny return if you blocked all undocumented immigrants from receiving emergency room care. You would see nothing.
Because that's all they're getting is emergency room care. And instead, in the desire to save, I heard someone say it, I don't even know if it's real. In order to save around $9 billion, we're potentially taking what, 10 to 15 million people potentially off of the Affordable Care Act, having no health insurance at all. You think that's a good trade-off?
If you actually, this is why I know that your argument is so disingenuous, Missouri Trucker, because if you actually cared about how expensive our healthcare system is for how little we receive in care and support from the taxes that we already pay, from the insurance premiums that we already pay, you would be going after bigger ticket items that would affect your healthcare costs. Instead, what you are doing is falling for the trap of finding a population that is more disenfranchised than you and blaming them for the pain that you feel. Guess what? Even if you eradicated them, even if you all of a sudden teleported them to space, you would still be paying the exact same thing that you're paying, receiving the exact same level of subpar healthcare. So if you actually gave a shit, you would look at the system at large and you wouldn't be trying to blame it on undocumented immigrants, because it makes no sense. Like, financially, it does not make sense that you care more about undocumented immigrants than you do about the whole systemic structure.
And again, you want to change the healthcare system. I'm all for it. Let's do it. You want to change the pathway to citizenship, how we deal with immigration as a whole. I'm totally fine with that. We have not changed our immigration system in decades. I am totally fine with that. But the way you do it is not by just endangering more people in order to make it happen. That is not how you get these things done. And again, that's regardless, that's totally separate of the humanity side of things.
I guess that depends on the country, Amby.
And in the end, we are not another country. We're our country. The only thing we have control over is what we do. I hear what people are saying, but we're not other countries. We're here. What do we want to be? How do we want to be? What do we want to do? Let's find that out and do something about that and stop worrying about what other countries do. We aren't other countries.
Well, and if you're going to look at other countries, look at them as models of what you could be or what you could do, rather than looking at, well, we don't have that, so they shouldn't have that. Like, look at other countries as models for things you could build in America, instead of choosing to look at other countries with jealousy and say, well, we don't have that here, we must be paying for that. And like, if you look at everyone around you as models for the things that you could build America, that whole anthem that the Red Hats love to chant could actually be a reality in America.
Amby, as a percentage of the amount of money we as a country spend in an entire year, state and federal, we spend way more on citizens. This is the part that you aren't getting. We don't spend mass amounts of money that everyone seems to think that we do. As a percentage, we spend extremely little outside of United States citizens. We just don't say, well, you're not a citizen, we're just going to let you suffer. because we're supposed to have humanity. We're supposed to be better than that. We're supposed to have morality. Again, if you want to do things that change the system, let's have that conversation. If you want to change how we do immigration so people that want to come to this country can, and it's not the messed up way it is right now, I'm all for it. We haven't changed our immigration system in literally decades. If you want to change the way we do our healthcare system, let's talk about it. If you think we're spending money in ways we shouldn't, let's talk about it. Not just cut for cut's sake. Especially when a cut to supposedly to save, less than $10 billion is going to cost us as a country, us as citizens, way more because of rising premium costs, or just cause tons of people to lose healthcare altogether. We're talking tens of millions potentially losing healthcare altogether because of these subsidies.
Can I address the elephant in the room that I see here? America's individualism is going to be its downfall. The fact that American citizens just keep focusing on what is good for just me is going to be its downfall. You guys are lacking basic social services that all the rest of your allies give access to their citizens, and a bunch of countries that aren't even your allies give their citizens access to, because to some degree the rest of us have some level of collectivism. If America wants to make itself great again, then you need to start at the very bottom, which means you need to start some semblance of societal collectivism. You need to start caring about your fellow neighbor, person down the street, anybody who walks across your border, a tourist, every single solitary person. And until that happens, we're going to having the same discussions over and over again, and it's going to keep getting worse. And it's not just going to keep getting worse for some people, it's going to be for everyone in the country. And that's not me talking socialism necessarily. It's me talking that you have to show genuine empathy, humanity, care, kindness, compassion for your fellow human being in order for it to, for everyone to feel the effects of it. What's wrong with our borders in Canada?
That statement doesn't even make sense.
Our borders are absolutely fine, just so you know. Like, I hate to say it, like, if you want to call it illegal immigration, we don't call it here. We call or undocumented people. Like, if we don't do that. Generally, most of ours are people, one of two categories. They're people who came to Canada and then stayed past their visa, that is a thing everywhere on the planet. That's not just exclusive to Canada. That's in every country that has any form of immigration, that is a thing. And the other one is people who came here for refugee status and they ended up getting declined for their refugee status and they ended up staying instead of leaving. And you know what? We have laws and stuff in place that should they get caught, they will be dealt with as per the law. But you know what? Even then, it's such a minute percentage. It's ridiculous because we have programs in place to make sure that we make it easy for people to enter Canada.
And again, Missouri trucker, you're not understanding even how our own immigration system works. The reason there are lots of people without documents is because they are here claiming asylum. And again, it's not a question of whether our system should be changed. Yes, I think it needs to be. I think we need to get it changed. But they are here legally. Most of them, vast majority are here legally on asylum. And they are waiting, literally, they cannot get documents until they see a judge. And the wait time to see a judge is years. Like many years. Because we do not have the system set up correctly. So they are here legally. on asylum, like they're requesting an asylum. You may not like it. That doesn't change the fact that it is legal.
Well, can I address something Missouri Trucker is saying specifically? Is he's saying that you need a ton of paperwork and documents to cross the border into Canada. I I don't believe that's actually accurate, unless you're talking that you're taking a truck shipment into Canada. Of course you do. Canada has, just like America, we have regulations on the stuff that can cross our border. That is not exclusive to Canada. That doesn't make us difficult to work with. That doesn't, like, we have health regulations. Ours are, or at least used to be, relatively similar to America's. I don't know how much has changed since since RFK got in there, but that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But yes, like, to get in as somebody who's visiting to Canada, it's like everywhere else. You take your passport and you go. Just like if I was to go to the US, not that I would anytime soon, because my social media would preclude me from being safe to cross the border at the moment. I would take my Canadian passport and go to the airport or go to the border and drive on through, because that's how it works, and vice versa the other way around. If you're bringing shipments across our border, there's a specific set of paperwork, and it's all available online. It's very easy to access. I don't understand what you're trying to say. Canada is not crazy. Canadian truckers are supposed to come here, deliver a load, and leave, but stay for months. No, they don't. No, they don't.
And it doesn't matter. Missouri Trucker, every one of your arguments has to do with the necessity to potentially change the way we do our immigration. And I've already said we should do that. The GOP have this knack of not actually fixing things and only saying this is a problem, so we just need to, cut this arm off.
Well, Mike, we actually had a complete immigration program passed by the Congress that was negotiated by the Congress, led by Republican Senator James Langford of Oklahoma. And it had bipartisan support. It had the support of President Biden, even though the Republicans got most of what they wanted. Lindsey Graham called this. He said the most Republican bill we will ever get. We should vote for it. And then Citizen Trump, at the time, because he didn't want to give Biden a win, he tanked it. So we did have immigration reform.
I'm saying we didn't have it passed. We have not passed.
It was all set to pass when former President Trump at the time tanked it. It had the support of the Republicans, it had the support of the Democrats, and it had support of President Biden. And it was largely written and gave Republicans most of what they wanted, so much so that people like Lindsey Graham said this is the best deal our side is ever going to get. And it was tanked on a fit of pique by a private citizen named Donald Trump.
As long as especially conservatives, but I'm sure there are some more liberals, at least, that also think this way. As long as we, as a country, especially conservatives, do not press and vote in people that are actually going to be willing to make changes, and the only response that we allow and continue to put in office from our Congress is cut, cut, cut. Like, no changes are getting made. No one's making changes that actually help people. This big, beautiful bill doesn't make changes that help American people. Only hurts American people, because it literally ignores the reality of the world we live in. All of the people that voted for that bill don't live in the same reality. How can you blame a guy that's not even in office and has no pull for tanking it? Of course he had pull for tanking it. He called up.
Have you been living under a rock? Seriously, have you been living under a rock? It was Donald Trump who tanked that.
I mean,
After Senator Langford, a real right-wing Republican senator, shepherded it through the Senate.
Senator Langford even said that Trump tanked it. So we're not saying it. The people that were in Congress said it, not Democrats. So,
Good God.
all right, it's 12 o'clock. It's time for me to go do other things today. Guys, if you're over here, make sure you follow over in the tube. Like I said, episode just came out today. We put out episodes every Tuesday, Thursday. You also want to follow because we're going to be adding more other kinds of episodes. It's not going to be just the normal podcast. We've added on someone else to this thing. It was always designed to be more than just me, so we're starting to hopefully add to it. We'll see how it goes. Make sure you watch the episodes over there, so we can grow. Missouri Trucker, here's the thing. You are still around because you have been respectful, and I do appreciate that, even though I obviously disagree with you greatly on a lot of things. Hopefully we can find a way to come to some level of understanding with each other, and I appreciate you being respectful. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning, and yeah, you guys are amazing just the way you are, and I love you all very much. Stay safe, stay healthy. Remember to sing, laugh, dance, smile, do something that makes you happy. Bye, guys. Bye, YouTube.